Marcus Wellington's hand froze on the doorframe, his knuckles turning white. Through the gap in his son's bedroom door, he watched the black housekeeper's hands move across Ethan's legs with a precision that made his blood run cold. "What the hell do you think you're doing to my son?" His voice cracked through the hallway like thunder. The woman's eyes snapped up, and in that single moment, Marcus saw something that shook him to his core. Not fear, not guilt, but a fierce, burning defiance that no servant should ever possess. What this billionaire discovered next would shatter every assumption he had ever made about worth, about dignity, and about the true meaning of healing. If you want to see how this incredible story unfolds, subscribe to our channel and stay until the very end. Drop a comment below telling us which city you're watching from. We want to know how far this story travels. Now let us take you back to where it all began. Marcus Wellington had not planned to come home early that Tuesday afternoon. The board meeting at Wellington Tech was supposed to run until 6, but the acquisition deal had collapsed spectacularly at 2:15 p.m. when the other company's CEO made demands that Marcus refused to meet. "You're walking away from $400 million, his CFO had said. "I'm walking away from a bad deal," Marcus replied. "There's a difference." But the truth was simpler. Marcus needed to leave that room. He needed air. He needed to stop pretending that billion-dollar decisions still meant something to him when his 5-year-old son could barely walk across his own bedroom. The drive from downtown Los Angeles to Beverly Hills took 43 minutes. Marcus spent every one of them replaying the same memories he had been running from for 2 years. Dr. Harrison's voice in that sterile office. "Mr. Wellington, the MRI results show mild cerebral palsy. It primarily affects motor function in the lower extremities." Victoria's hand gripping his so tight, her nails left marks. Ethan, 3 years old, sitting on his mother's lap, playing with a toy car, completely unaware that the adults in the room were discussing the limitations of his future. Marcus had asked all the right questions that day. What treatments were available? What specialists they should consult? What the prognosis looked like with early intervention. He had been calm, professional, in control. Then he had walked to the parking garage, sat in his Mercedes, and cried until his chest ached. That was the last time Marcus Wellington allowed himself to feel helpless. From that day forward, he attacked his son's condition the same way he attacked business problems. He hired the best specialists. He purchased the most advanced equipment. He wrote checks with more zeros than most people earned in a decade, and none of it worked. The physical therapists came 3 times a week. They put Ethan through exercises that made him cry. They wrote reports filled with medical terminology that translated to the same message every time. Minimal progress. Managing expectations. Long-term care planning. Marcus stopped reading the reports after the first year. He stopped attending the therapy sessions after 6 months. He told himself it was because he had a company to run employees depending on him responsibilities that demanded his attention. But Victoria knew the truth. She had confronted him about it just last week. "You're hiding," she said. "Every time you look at Ethan, you see something you can't fix. And Marcus Wellington doesn't know how to handle problems he can't fix." "That's not fair, isn't it? When was the last time you played with him? When was the last time you sat on the floor and just let him be your son instead of your project?" Marcus hadn't answered. He had retreated to his study, poured himself a drink, and worked until midnight. That was who he had become. A father who loved his son from a distance. A man who measured devotion in dollars spent rather than moments shared. The gates of the Wellington estate opened automatically as his car approached. Marcus pulled into the circular driveway and sat for a moment staring at the mansion he had built. 6 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, a pool, a tennis court, a home theater. Everything money could buy. Nothing that actually mattered. He entered through the front door expecting the usual sounds of the household staff. Maria in the kitchen preparing dinner. Thomas handling the grounds. Maya doing whatever it was housekeepers did during the day. Instead, he heard something that stopped him in his tracks. Laughter. His son's laughter. Marcus couldn't remember the last time he had heard that sound. Ethan used to laugh all the time before the diagnosis. Belly laughs at cartoon characters, giggles when Victoria tickled him, squeals of delight when Marcus would lift him high in the air. But somewhere along the way, the laughter had faded, replaced by quiet resignation. By the careful movements of a child who had learned that his body didn't work like other children's bodies. Now that laughter was echoing through the house coming from upstairs, Marcus moved toward the staircase. Each step brought the sound closer, and with it a voice he recognized. Maya Johnson, the housekeeper. She was speaking in a warm, encouraging tone that he had never heard her use. "That's it, Ethan. Push. Push harder. Show me what those legs can do." "I'm pushing, Aunt Maya. I'm pushing so hard." "I know you are, baby. And guess what? You're doing amazing. Look at that. Look at your leg right now. It's moving, Aunt Maya. It's moving on its own. I told you those muscles were waking up. They just needed someone to believe in them." Marcus reached the top of the stairs. Ethan's bedroom door was partially open, and through the gap, he could see something that made his stomach drop. Maya was kneeling on the floor beside the bed. She had Ethan's small legs in her hands, and she was manipulating them with movements that looked nothing like casual play. These were deliberate, precise, professional. "Now let's try the rotation," Maya said. "Remember how we practiced yesterday, around and around like we're drawing circles in the air? Like a bicycle. Exactly like a bicycle. You're so smart, Ethan. Ready. 1, 2, 3. Marcus watched his son's ankle rotate in a smooth circle. Then again, and again. Each movement controlled, intentional, guided by Maya's steady hands. "Beautiful," Maya whispered. "Absolutely beautiful. You know what this means." "What?" "It means those nerves are talking to those muscles now. They're becoming friends. And when nerves and muscles become friends, amazing things start to happen." Ethan's face lit up with hope. "You mean I might walk better?" Maya cupped his face in her hands. "I mean you're going to walk, run, jump, dance. Whatever you want to do, Ethan. Your body is not your enemy. It just needs time and practice and someone who believes in it." "You believe in me, Aunt Maya." "More than anything in this world." Ethan threw his arms around her neck. "I love you." "I love you too, little warrior. Now let's do 10 more rotations, and then we'll practice standing." Marcus felt his heart hammering against his ribs. Standing. The physical therapists had been working on standing exercises for 18 months. The most Ethan had ever managed was a few seconds before his legs gave out. "I don't know if I can stand today," Ethan said, his voice wavering. "My legs feel tired." "Tired is good. Tired means they worked hard. But here's a secret, Ethan. Your legs are stronger than they feel. They're just scared. And when we're scared, we forget how strong we are." "Are you ever scared, Aunt Maya?" Maya was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of memories Marcus couldn't see. "I used to be scared all the time. When my little brother Jalen was born, the doctors said he would never walk. They said his legs would never work right. And I was just a teenager, but I looked at that baby, and I made a promise." "What promise?" "I promised that no matter what anybody said, I would help him prove them wrong. And you know what, Ethan, he did. Jalen walks now. He runs. He plays basketball better than kids who never had anything wrong with them. Really. Really. And if Jalen can do it, you can do it. Because you have the same fire in you that he had. I can see it." Marcus's hands were shaking. This woman, this housekeeper he had hired to clean floors and wash dishes, had been secretly treating his son. She had developed a relationship with Ethan that Marcus himself had failed to build. And she was getting results that 2 years of professional therapy had not achieved. He should have been furious. Part of him was furious. But there was another feeling rising up, something that tasted bitter in his mouth. Shame. "Okay, Aunt Maya. I'll try to stand. That's my warrior. Now I'm going to hold your hands and you're going to push up with your legs. Don't worry about staying up long. Just focus on the pushing. Ready? Ready. Marcus watched Maya take both of Ethan's small hands in hers. She positioned herself in front of him, bracing her body to support his weight. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Ethan pushed. His face scrunched with effort. His legs trembled. And slowly, impossibly, he rose from the bed. I'm standing. Aunt Maya, I'm standing. You're standing. Baby, look at you. Look at those strong legs. Ethan stood for 5 seconds. Then 10. His legs shook, but held. His grip on Maya's hands was tight, but his eyes were blazing with triumph. How long is that? He asked, breathless. 15 seconds. That's 5 seconds longer than yesterday. 5 whole seconds. 5 whole seconds. At this rate, you'll be standing on your own by Christmas. Ethan's legs finally gave out and he sat back on the bed, but he was laughing with pure joy. Wait until I tell Daddy. He's going to be so proud. Maya's expression flickered. Something crossed her face that Marcus couldn't read. Your daddy is always proud of you, Ethan. But he doesn't come to my exercises. He's always working. That's because your daddy has a very important job. He works hard so you can have everything you need. I know, but sometimes I wish he would just be here. Maya stroked the boy's hair. I know, sweetheart. Sometimes daddies forget that being there is more important than buying things. But it doesn't mean they love us less. It just means they're scared too. Daddy scared. Ethan laughed. Daddy's not scared of anything. Everyone's scared of something, Ethan. Even billionaires. Especially billionaires. Marcus pressed his back against the hallway wall, his chest tight. How did this woman understand him so well? How did she see through the armor he had spent years building? And how had he let things get so bad that his housekeeper knew his son better than he did? Aunt Maya, can I tell you a secret? Of course, baby. You can tell me anything. Sometimes I dream that I can run. In my dreams, my legs work perfect. And I'm running so fast and Daddy's chasing me and we're both laughing. And when I wake up... The boy's voice cracked. When I wake up, my legs still don't work. And Daddy's not there. And I feel like maybe the dream is the only place where everything is okay. Maya pulled Ethan into a tight embrace. Over his shoulder, Marcus could see her face. Her eyes were closed, but tears were streaming down her cheeks. Listen to me, Ethan Wellington. That dream, it's not just a dream. It's a preview. It's a picture of what's coming. And I promise on everything I love that one day you're going to run. And your daddy's going to chase you. And you're both going to laugh just like in your dream. You really promise? I really promise. Marcus turned away. He couldn't watch anymore. His vision was blurred, and his throat felt like it was closing up. He made his way downstairs on unsteady legs, heading for his study. He needed to think, needed to process what he had just witnessed. But before he could reach the study door, Victoria's voice stopped him. Marcus. His wife was standing in the living room doorway, a cup of tea in her hands. She was still dressed for her charity luncheon, but her shoes were off, and her posture suggested she had been home for a while. How long have you been there? She asked. Long enough. Victoria set down her tea. You heard them, Maya and Ethan. You knew about this. It wasn't a question. Victoria's face confirmed it. I've known for months. And you didn't tell me. Would you have listened? Victoria crossed her arms. You barely look at Ethan's therapy reports anymore. You haven't attended a session in over a year. You come home after he's asleep and leave before he wakes up. When exactly was I supposed to bring this up? He's my son. I have a right to know what's happening to him. What's happening to him is he's getting better. For the first time in 2 years, he's actually improving. His mobility has increased. His confidence has skyrocketed. He smiles again, Marcus. He laughs. When was the last time you noticed any of that? Marcus had no answer. Maya has a gift, Victoria continued. I don't know where she learned what she does. I don't know her whole story, but I know that she loves our son, and she's helping him in ways that all your expensive doctors couldn't. She's not qualified. She's a housekeeper. So what? Does a piece of paper make her touch less gentle? Does a degree make Ethan laugh more during her exercises? The results speak for themselves. There are protocols, liability issues. What if she hurts him? She's been working with him for 6 months. Has he ever been hurt? Has he ever complained? The only pain he experiences is during the sessions with your professional therapists. With Maya, he calls it playtime. Marcus sank into the nearest chair. His whole body felt heavy. What do you want me to do, Victoria? Just accept that our housekeeper is secretly treating our son. I want you to open your eyes. I want you to see what's been happening right under your nose. And I want you to ask yourself why it bothers you so much. It doesn't bother me. Then why is your jaw clenched? Why are your fists balled up? Why do you look like someone just told you everything you've done for the past 2 years was worthless? The words hit Marcus like a physical blow, because that was exactly how he felt. Worthless. All the money, all the specialists, all the equipment, and a housekeeper from Compton was achieving what none of it could. What do you know about her? He asked quietly. About Maya. Not much. She's private, works hard, never complains. She came with excellent references. Her background check was clean. But where did she learn those techniques? That wasn't random massage. Those were professional movements. Victoria shrugged. Ask her. I intend to. Just... Victoria hesitated. Whatever you do, don't let your pride destroy something good. Ethan needs Maya. I've never seen him connect with anyone the way he connects with her. If you take that away from him, I'm not going to take anything away from anyone. I just want answers. Victoria studied him for a long moment. Okay, but Marcus, when you talk to her, really listen. Don't just hear what you expect to hear. Listen. She picked up her tea and walked toward the kitchen, leaving Marcus alone with his thoughts. The next morning, Marcus canceled all his meetings. His assistant thought he was sick. He let her believe it. At 7:45 a.m., he positioned himself in his study with the door slightly open. From there, he could see the main staircase without being seen. At 8 a.m. sharp, Maya arrived through the staff entrance. She was wearing simple clothes, her hair pulled back in a neat bun. She carried a large bag over her shoulder. Marcus watched her move through the house with quiet efficiency. She started in the kitchen, preparing breakfast trays. She tidied the living areas. She checked the schedule posted on the refrigerator. At 9:30 a.m., the professional physical therapist arrived for Ethan's scheduled session. Marcus heard his son's voice from upstairs already complaining. Do I have to, Mom? I don't want to do the exercises today. Ethan, you know the rules. 3 sessions a week with Dr. Patterson. But it hurts when he does it, and it's boring, and he never talks to me like a real person. Marcus winced. His son's words were a direct indictment of everything he had arranged. The therapy session lasted 1 hour. Marcus could hear snippets of it from his study. Dr. Patterson's clinical instructions. Ethan's occasional whimpers of discomfort. No laughter. No encouragement. Just the mechanical execution of prescribed exercises. When Dr. Patterson left at 10:45 a.m., Marcus heard something that broke his heart. Ethan was crying. It's okay, sweetheart. Victoria's voice, soothing and tired. You did so well. I hate those exercises. They hurt, and they don't even work. They do work, baby. It just takes time. No, they don't. Only Aunt Maya's exercises work. When is she coming to see me? A pause. Then Victoria's voice, more careful. Maya has other work to do, Ethan. She can't spend all day with you. But I want her. I need her. She makes me feel like I'm not broken. Marcus closed his eyes. She makes me feel like I'm not broken. That sentence would echo in his mind for the rest of the day. He waited until afternoon. Victoria had taken Ethan out for lunch, a rare treat to make up for the difficult therapy session. The house was quiet. Maya was in the laundry room folding sheets. Marcus appeared in the doorway. "Maya, we need to talk." She looked up and he saw it immediately. The flash of fear, the quick calculation behind her eyes, the slight tremor in her hands before she steadied them. "Of course, Mr. Wellington. Is something wrong?" "I think you know what's wrong." Maya set down the sheet she was folding. Her movements were slow, deliberate. "If this is about Ethan..." "It is about Ethan. I saw you yesterday. In his room. I saw what you were doing with his legs." Maya was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was steady. "I can explain." "Please do. Because from where I was standing, it looked like my housekeeper was performing physical therapy on my son, without any training, any supervision, or any permission." "You're right. I should have asked. I should have told you or Mrs. Wellington. I was wrong to do it secretly." "Then why did you..." Maya met his eyes. In that moment, Marcus saw something he hadn't expected. Strength. "Because your son was dying, Mr. Wellington. Not his body. His spirit. When I started working here, Ethan was the saddest child I had ever seen. He didn't smile. He didn't laugh. He told me once that he wished he had never been born because then he wouldn't be a burden to everyone." Marcus felt like he had been punched in the stomach. He said that to me, a stranger who cleaned his house, because I was the only one who asked him how he felt. The accusation hung in the air between them. "I started small," Maya continued, "just playing with him, making him laugh. Then I noticed how he moved, how he compensated for his weak muscles, how he had developed habits that were making things worse, not better." "How would you know that?" "Because I've seen it before, Mr. Wellington. My brother Jalen was born with the same condition, cerebral palsy. Doctors told my mother he would never walk. They said to prepare for a lifetime of wheelchairs and assisted living." Marcus remembered her saying something about a brother to Ethan, but hearing it directly in this context changed everything. What happened to him? I happened to him. Maya's voice carried a quiet pride. "I was 14 when Jalen was born. My mother worked 2 jobs. We couldn't afford therapy, so I became his therapist. I read every book in the public library. I watched every video I could find. I talked to nurses, to aides, to anyone who would teach me. And I worked with Jalen every single day for 12 years. And he walks, he runs, he plays basketball. He got a scholarship to college based on his athletic ability. The same doctors who said he would never walk watched him score 30 points in his high school championship game." Marcus leaned against the doorframe. His legs felt weak. "You're telling me you have no formal training, no degree. You learned all of this from books and videos. I'm telling you that I have more experience than any degree could give me. I've spent 12 years learning what works and what doesn't. Not from textbooks, from results. From watching my brother go from a baby who couldn't lift his head to a young man who can outrun anyone his age." "But Ethan isn't your brother. He's my son. You had no right to experiment on him." Maya flinched at the word experiment. "I wasn't experimenting. I was adapting. Everything I do with Ethan is based on what worked with Jalen. The same muscles, the same neural pathways, the same gentle pressure and encouragement that helps the brain rewire itself." "The brain can't rewire itself." "Yes, it can. It's called neuroplasticity. Look it up. Children's brains are especially adaptable. With the right stimulation, the right exercises, the right emotional support, they can form new connections. They can work around damage. They can achieve things that doctors say are impossible." Marcus had heard of neuroplasticity. It was a buzzword that the expensive specialists sometimes used. But they had never explained it like this, never made it sound so accessible. "Dr. Patterson has been working with Ethan for 18 months, Marcus said. He has a PhD in pediatric physical therapy. And in 18 months, how much progress has Ethan made? Marcus didn't answer. They both knew the answer. I've been working with Ethan for 6 months, Maya continued. In secret, for 20 minutes a day stolen between my other duties. And he can already stand for 15 seconds. He can rotate his ankles. He can lift his legs higher than he could when I started. He laughs during our sessions. He looks forward to them. He believes he's going to walk. Belief isn't medical treatment. Belief is everything. Maya stepped closer, her eyes blazing. Do you know what your son said to me last week? He said that for the first time in his life, he doesn't feel broken. Do you understand what that means? Do you have any idea how important that is? Marcus felt his defenses crumbling. I know you're angry, Maya said. I know I overstepped. But I'm not going to apologize for helping a child who needed help. I'm not going to pretend that your degrees and your money and your protocols are more important than your son's happiness. That's not fair, isn't it? Where were you during Ethan's therapy sessions? Where were you when he cried after every appointment with Dr. Patterson? Where were you when he needed his father to tell him that everything was going to be okay? I was working, providing for this family. This family doesn't need more money, Mr. Wellington. This family needs you. Ethan needs you. But you're so busy trying to buy solutions that you've forgotten the one thing that can't be purchased. And what's that? Love, presence, time, the things that actually heal people. Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to defend himself, but the words wouldn't come, because Maya was right, and they both knew it. I'm going to keep working with Ethan, Maya said. You can fire me if you want, but I'm going to keep working with him until the day you make me leave, because that boy deserves someone who believes in him. And if you won't be that person, then I will. She picked up the sheet she had been folding and walked past Marcus, her shoulder brushing against his arm. He stood in the laundry room for a long time, staring at the wall, trying to understand how a housekeeper from Compton had just torn his entire world apart. That evening, Marcus did something he hadn't done in over a year. He went to Ethan's room at bedtime. The boy's eyes widened when he saw his father in the doorway. Daddy, is something wrong? Nothing's wrong. I just wanted to say goodnight. Ethan's face transformed. The smile that spread across his features was so pure, so grateful, that Marcus felt his chest constrict. Really? You're going to tuck me in? If that's okay. It's so okay. It's the most okay thing ever. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed. Ethan was already in his pajamas, his hair damp from his bath. I heard you stood up for 15 seconds today, Marcus said. Ethan's smile faltered. Who told you that? It doesn't matter. I just wanted to say I'm proud of you. You're proud, but you never come to my exercises. I know, and I'm sorry about that. I'm going to try to be better. Ethan studied his father with the unnerving perception of children. Are you mad at Aunt Maya? Marcus hesitated. Why would I be mad at Aunt Maya? Because she does exercises with me. And I know she's just supposed to clean and stuff, but she helps me, Daddy. She helps me so much. I know she does. Please don't fire her. Please. I'll be good. I'll do whatever you want. Just please don't take her away. The desperation in his son's voice was like a knife in Marcus's heart. I'm not going to fire Maya. You promise? There was that word again. Promise. The word that seemed to carry so much weight in this house. I promise. Ethan threw his arms around Marcus's neck, hugging him with surprising strength. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Marcus held his son close, breathing in the scent of his shampoo, feeling the rapid beat of his small heart. I love you, Ethan. I know I don't say it enough, but I love you more than anything in this world. I love you too, Daddy, and I'm going to walk for you. Aunt Maya says I will, and Aunt Maya never breaks her promises. Long after Ethan fell asleep, Marcus sat in the darkness of his son's room, watching the gentle rise and fall of his breathing. He thought about Maya's words, about belief, about presence, about the things money couldn't buy. He thought about the 12 years Maya had spent helping her brother defy medical expectations, about the dedication that took, the love. And he thought about his own failure, not as a businessman or a provider, but as a father. Tomorrow he would make a decision, about Maya, about Ethan, about the kind of man he wanted to be. But tonight, he would just sit here, watching his son sleep, being present. It was a start. What Marcus didn't know was that Maya Johnson had secrets beyond her brother's story. Secrets that would rock his understanding of privilege, opportunity, and the barriers society placed in front of people who looked like her. He had followed her once that day to the basketball court in Compton. But there was somewhere else she went at night, somewhere that held the final piece of the puzzle. And when Marcus discovered what Maya did when she thought no one was watching, everything he believed about her and about himself would change forever. 3 days had passed since Marcus made that promise to Ethan. 3 days of watching Maya move through his house with quiet efficiency, never once acknowledging the confrontation in the laundry room. 3 days of Marcus pretending everything was normal, while his mind churned with unanswered questions. It was Friday evening, 7:43 p.m., when Marcus noticed something strange. Maya had finished her shift at 6:00 p.m. She should have been gone by now. But from his study window, Marcus watched her car still parked in the staff lot behind the garage. At 8:15 p.m., Maya emerged from the staff quarters, carrying the same large bag she always brought to work. But instead of heading to her car, she walked toward the side gate that led to the street. Marcus grabbed his keys. He kept a safe distance as Maya walked 3 blocks to a bus stop. She waited alone under the fluorescent light, checking her phone, completely unaware that her employer was watching from a parked car across the street. The bus arrived at 8:34 p.m. Maya climbed aboard. Marcus followed. The drive took them out of Beverly Hills through neighborhoods that grew progressively less manicured, past Santa Monica, through Inglewood, into Compton. Maya exited at a stop Marcus had never seen before. He parked on a side street and followed on foot, staying far enough back that she wouldn't notice him. She walked with purpose, her stride confident, despite the late hour. She knew these streets. This was her world. At 9:17 p.m., Maya stopped in front of a building that looked like it had seen better days. The sign above the door was faded, barely readable in the dim streetlight. St. Peter's Community Rehabilitation Center. Marcus watched Maya push through the front door. Through the grimy windows, he could see lights flickering on inside. He waited 5 minutes, then 10. At 9:32 p.m., he approached the building and peered through the window. What he saw made him forget how to breathe. Maya stood in the center of a large room surrounded by children. 15, maybe 20 of them. Children in wheelchairs. Children with leg braces. Children with the same careful movements Marcus recognized from watching Ethan. And Maya was working with all of them. She moved from child to child, adjusting positions, demonstrating exercises, offering encouragement. The children called out to her, "Teacher Maya, look at me. Teacher Maya, I did 10 reps today. Teacher Maya, my mom says I'm walking better," she cried. Marcus pressed closer to the window. He watched Maya kneel beside a little girl who couldn't have been older than 6. The child's legs were thin, atrophied, strapped into metal braces. "Destiny, you're doing amazing," Maya said, her voice carrying through the thin glass. "Remember last month when you couldn't even bend your knee? Look at you now." "It still hurts sometimes," the girl whispered. "I know, baby. Growth always hurts a little. But you know what pain means. Your body is changing. Pain means you're getting stronger. You really think I'll walk like normal kids someday?" Maya took the girl's face in her hands. "I don't think it. I know it. And I'm going to be right here every step of the way until you prove all those doctors wrong." Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. This wasn't a hobby. This wasn't a side project. Maya had built something here. Something real. Something that was changing lives. He pushed open the front door. The room went silent. Every eye turned toward him. Maya's face drained of color. "Mr. Wellington, what are you doing here?" "I followed you." A murmur rippled through the children. Some of them shrank back, recognizing the expensive suit, the commanding presence of wealth. "You need to leave," Maya said, stepping forward. "This is my private time. You have no right to be here. I have questions, and I think I deserve answers. Not here. Not in front of the children." A boy in a wheelchair, maybe 12 years old, rolled forward. "Is this man bothering you, Teacher Maya? Want me to call someone?" Maya softened. "No, Deshaun. This is someone I work for. We just need to talk. Can you help the little ones with their stretches while I step outside?" "I got you, teacher." Maya walked past Marcus, her shoulder rigid with tension. He followed her out into the parking lot. "You had no right to follow me," she said the moment the door closed. "What I do on my own time is none of your business. You're treating children in a building that looks like it's about to fall down, with equipment that belongs in a museum. How is that not my business? Because it's not your world, Mr. Wellington. These children don't have rich fathers who can hire specialists. Their families work 3 jobs and still can't afford basic therapy. This center is all they have." "Where does the funding come from?" Maya laughed bitterly. "What funding? I pay for most of the supplies myself. The building is donated by a church that can barely keep the lights on. We run on prayers and stubbornness." "How long have you been doing this?" 4 years, ever since I finished my degree." Marcus froze. "Your degree?" Maya's jaw tightened. She hadn't meant to say that. "What degree, Maya?" Silence stretched between them. A car passed on the street, its headlights briefly illuminating Maya's face. Marcus saw something there he hadn't expected. Defeat. "Physical therapy," she finally said. "I have a bachelor's degree in physical therapy from UCLA. Graduated 3 years ago, summa cum laude." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. "You have a degree, a real degree, from a real university, and you're working as my housekeeper. Don't act so shocked. You know how the world works. Explain it to me, because right now nothing makes sense." Maya turned away from him, staring at the cracked pavement of the parking lot. "I sent out 247 applications after graduation. Clinics, hospitals, private practices, sports medicine centers, every physical therapy job in the greater Los Angeles area. And I got exactly 3 interviews. 3 out of 247. That's not possible. With a degree from UCLA with honors, you should have had employers fighting over you." Maya spun around, her eyes blazing. "Should have. But I didn't. You want to know what those 3 interviews had in common? The moment I walked in, the moment they saw my face, the conversation changed. Suddenly they had concerns about my clinical experience. Suddenly, they weren't sure I'd be a good fit for their team. Suddenly, the position had been filled internally." "You're saying they rejected you because you're black." "I'm saying they rejected me because of 100 little reasons that all added up to the same thing. My address was in the wrong neighborhood. My references were from professors instead of private practice owners. I didn't have the right connections, the right background, the right look. That's discrimination. You could have sued. With what money? With what proof? Nobody ever said it out loud. They just smiled and thanked me for coming in and promised to be in touch. And then nothing. Silence. For months." Maya's voice cracked. "I spent 18 months trying to break into this field. 18 months of watching white classmates with lower grades get hired at prestigious clinics. 18 months of being told I needed more experience by places that wouldn't give me the chance to get experience. And then my mother got sick. I didn't know. Why would you? She needed surgery, expensive surgery, and I needed a job that paid actual money, not promises. So I started cleaning houses. And it turned out I was good at it. I could get references. I could build a reputation. Because apparently, people trust a black woman to clean their toilets in ways they don't trust her to heal their children. Marcus had no words. The woman standing before him had been transformed. She was no longer his housekeeper. She was a professional who had been denied her profession. A healer who had been pushed into servitude. "Is your mother okay now?" "She died 8 months ago, 3 weeks before I started working for you." The weight of that revelation pressed down on Marcus like a physical force. "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. Be better." Maya wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "My mother spent her whole life cleaning rich people's houses. She always told me I was going to be different. I was going to have a career. I was going to help people. And I do help people. Just not the way either of us imagined. The children in there. How many of them can you actually treat?" "I see about 40 kids a week. All of them from families who can't afford real therapy. I work with each one for 30 minutes twice a week. It's not enough. It's never enough. But it's something." "And Ethan? Where does he fit in?" Maya's expression softened at the mention of the boy's name. "Ethan was supposed to be just another job. Clean the house, collect the check, stay invisible. But then I saw him, struggling with those crutches, crying after therapy sessions, looking at himself like he was broken beyond repair. And you couldn't help yourself. I couldn't watch another child suffer when I knew how to help. I tried to stay professional. I tried to keep my distance. But he would look at me with those big eyes, and he would ask me why his legs didn't work like other kids, and I just..." Maya pressed her hand to her mouth. "I just wanted him to know that he wasn't broken. That his body wasn't his enemy. That someone believed in him." Marcus thought about all the specialists he had hired, all the clinical reports, all the detached professionalism that had done nothing to reach his son's heart. "You should have told me. About your degree. About everything." Would it have mattered? Would you have believed a black housekeeper who claimed to have a therapy degree? Or would you have assumed I was lying and fired me on the spot? The question hung in the air. Marcus wanted to say he would have believed her, but he wasn't sure that was true. "I don't know," he admitted. "At least you're honest." Maya looked back at the community center. "I should get back. The kids need me." "Wait. I want to see. I want to understand what you do in there." Maya studied him for a long moment. Whatever she saw in his face must have satisfied her because she nodded. "Fine. But you don't talk. You don't interfere. You just watch." Agreed. They walked back into the building together. The children fell silent again when they saw Marcus, but Maya quickly redirected their attention. "Everyone, this is Mr. Wellington. He's going to watch tonight. Don't mind him. Just focus on your exercises." For the next 2 hours, Marcus witnessed something that no business school had ever taught him. He watched Maya move through the room like a conductor leading an orchestra. Each child received her full attention. Each child was seen, valued, celebrated for whatever small progress they had made. He watched her work with Deshaun, the boy in the wheelchair, helping him strengthen his arms for the day when he might propel himself independently. He watched her encourage a teenage girl named Keisha through painful stretches, promising her that college was possible, that a normal life was within reach. He watched her hold a crying toddler whose legs wouldn't cooperate, singing softly until the child relaxed enough to try again. And through it all, he saw the same techniques she used with Ethan. The same patience. The same unwavering belief. At 11:47 p.m., the last child was picked up by an exhausted mother who thanked Maya with tears in her eyes. "You've changed our lives," the woman said. "The doctor said Marcus would never walk. But look at him now. Look at my baby." The little boy took 3 shaky steps toward Maya and threw his arms around her waist. "Thank you, Teacher Maya. I love you." Maya knelt down and held him tight. "I love you too, sweetheart. Keep practicing. I'll see you next week." After they left, Maya began cleaning up. Marcus moved to help her, picking up scattered exercise bands and foam rollers. "You don't have to do that," Maya said. "I want to." They worked in silence for several minutes. Finally, Marcus spoke. "How much would it cost? How much would what cost to fix this place up, to get real equipment, to make this an actual clinic?" Maya stopped what she was doing. "Mr. Wellington, I didn't show you this because I wanted your money." "I know, but I'm asking anyway." "I don't want your charity." "It's not charity. It's an investment. In those children, in this community, in you." Maya set down the equipment she was holding. Her eyes searched his face for something. Sincerity, deception, some hint of ulterior motive. "I've had rich people promise me things before. They get excited in the moment, write a check, and then disappear. Nothing ever changes. I'm not most rich people. Aren't you?" The challenge in her voice was clear. Marcus understood that this was a test. Everything that happened next depended on his answer. "Honestly, until 3 days ago I probably was. I was the kind of man who threw money at problems and expected them to fix themselves. The kind of man who hired specialists instead of being present. The kind of man who let his son feel broken because he didn't know how to handle a problem he couldn't buy his way out of." "What changed?" "I watched you with Ethan. I heard my son laugh for the first time in months. I saw him stand on his own legs and believe that he could do more. And I realized that everything I had been doing was wrong." Maya said nothing. "I can't fix the past. I can't undo the discrimination you faced or the opportunities you were denied. But I can do something now. If you'll let me." The silence stretched between them. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance. Inside, the fluorescent lights hummed their tired song. $300,000, Maya finally said. "What?" "That's what it would cost. To renovate this building. To buy proper equipment. To hire a part-time assistant. $300,000 would transform this place into a real clinic." "Done." Maya blinked. "You can't just say done. You need to think about it. Consult your accountants. Do whatever billionaires do before they write checks." "I said done. Monday morning my people will be here to assess what needs to happen. By the end of the month, you'll have your clinic." Why would you do this?" Marcus thought about Ethan. About the promise he had made. About the 15 seconds his son had stood on his own legs. "Because my son loves you. Because these children need you. And because you deserved this chance 3 years ago and nobody gave it to you." Maya's composure finally broke. Tears streamed down her face and she covered her mouth with her hand to muffle the sob that escaped. "I've been fighting for so long," she whispered. "Alone. Always alone. And now you just—" "You're not alone anymore." Maya looked up at him, and something shifted between them. Not romance, not attraction. Something deeper. An understanding. A recognition of two people who had both failed in different ways and were trying to find their way back. "There's something else you need to know," Maya said, wiping her tears. "About why I really connected with Ethan." "What?" "My mother. Before she died. She spent the last 6 months of her life in a wheelchair. I was her caregiver. I did her therapy. I watched her fight to stand just like Ethan fights. And when she finally took her last breath, I promised her that I would never stop helping children, like she wished someone had helped her when she was young. Your mother had the same condition, undiagnosed her whole life. She struggled with mobility since childhood, but her family couldn't afford doctors. She learned to compensate, to hide it, to push through. It's why I became a physical therapist in the first place. For her." Marcus understood now. The depth of Maya's commitment to Ethan wasn't just professional. It was personal, sacred, a continuation of a promise made to a dying mother. "Ethan is lucky to have you," Marcus said. Ethan is lucky to have parents who love him. He just needed someone to help them see what he could become. They finished cleaning up in comfortable silence. When they finally locked the doors of the community center, it was past midnight. "I'll drive you home," Marcus said. "You don't have to." "I know, but it's late, and your car is still at my house." Maya hesitated, then nodded. The drive to Compton took 20 minutes at that hour. The streets were quiet, the city sleeping. Maya directed him to a modest house with a chain-link fence and a small patch of grass that someone had tried to keep neat. "This is me." Marcus looked at the house. It was clean, dignified. But it was a world away from Beverly Hills. "Thank you," Maya said, "for tonight, for listening, for not firing me when you had every reason to. Thank you for not giving up on my son." Maya opened the car door, then paused. "Mr. Wellington, there's something else, someone else you should meet." "Who?" "My brother, Jalen, the one I told you about. The one who plays basketball now. He has a game tomorrow, Saturday, at the community center down the street. If you want to see proof that what I do works, come watch him play." Marcus nodded. "I'll be there." Maya stepped out of the car, then turned back one more time. "He's good. Really good. Good enough for a college scholarship." She closed the door and walked toward her house. Marcus watched until she was safely inside, then drove away. The streets of Compton gave way to Inglewood, then Santa Monica, then Beverly Hills. With each passing mile, the houses grew larger, the lawns more manicured, the distance from Maya's reality more pronounced. By the time Marcus pulled into his own driveway, it was nearly 2:00 a.m. The mansion loomed before him, beautiful and empty. He sat in the car for a long time thinking about everything he had seen. The children, the community center, Maya's degree gathering dust while she scrubbed floors in his house. He thought about the systems that had kept her out, the interviews that went nowhere, the opportunities denied. And he thought about his own role in those systems, the professionals he hired based on pedigree, the assumptions he made about who was qualified and who wasn't. Tomorrow he would watch Jalen play basketball. He would see with his own eyes what Maya's methods could achieve. But tonight he would go upstairs and look in on his sleeping son. He would watch Ethan breathe. He would remember that 15-second miracle. And he would start planning how to make things right. Not just for Ethan, not just for Maya. For all the children who deserved a chance that the world had denied them. Saturday morning arrived gray and overcast. Marcus woke at 6:47 a.m. after barely 4 hours of sleep, his mind still churning with everything he had witnessed the night before. The community center, the children, Maya's degree from UCLA collecting dust while she scrubbed his floors. He checked his phone. 3 missed calls from his CFO. 12 emails marked urgent. A text from Victoria asking where he had disappeared to last night. Marcus ignored all of it. At 9:00 a.m., he drove back to Compton. The neighborhood looked different in daylight. Less threatening, more tired. He saw elderly women watering patches of grass, children riding bicycles on cracked sidewalks, a group of young men washing cars in a driveway, music playing from a portable speaker. The basketball court was behind a community recreation center separated from the street by a chain-link fence that had seen better days. Marcus parked his Mercedes on a side street, suddenly aware of how much his car cost compared to everything around him. He found Maya sitting on metal bleachers beside the court. She was wearing jeans and a simple t-shirt, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked younger without her work uniform, more relaxed. "You came," she said, as Marcus sat down beside her. "I said I would." "Rich people say a lot of things." Marcus let that pass. "Which one is Jalen?" Maya pointed to a young man stretching near the baseline. He was tall, muscular, moving with an easy confidence that drew the eye. "Number 23, just like his hero. Michael Jordan. LeBron actually, but same number." The game started at 9:30 a.m. Marcus had watched basketball before. mostly from luxury boxes at Lakers games, surrounded by other executives making small talk about stock prices and acquisitions. This was different. Raw. Real. The players weren't millionaires in sponsored shoes. They were kids from the neighborhood playing for pride and the slim hope that someone might notice them. Jalen was impossible to miss. He moved like water flowing around defenders, finding gaps that shouldn't have existed. His first basket came 30 seconds into the game, a driving layup that drew cheers from the sparse crowd. "That's my brother," Maya shouted, clapping her hands. Marcus watched Jalen land on both feet, perfectly balanced. No hesitation. No favoring one leg over the other. Nothing that suggested this young man had ever struggled to walk. "The doctors said he would never do this," Marcus said quietly. "The doctors were wrong." How is this possible?" Maya kept her eyes on the game. "The brain is incredible, Mr. Wellington. When one pathway doesn't work, it can build another. But it needs help. It needs someone to show it what's possible. It needs repetition and patience and belief. And love." Maya glanced at him. Love most of all. Jalen scored again. Then again. By halftime, he had 18 points. The opposing team had started double-teaming him, but it barely slowed him down. During the break, Jalen jogged over to the bleachers. His face was slick with sweat, his smile wide and genuine. "Maya, you see that crossover in the second quarter? I saw it. Almost broke that boy's ankles." Jalen laughed, then noticed Marcus. His smile faded slightly. "Who's this?" "This is Mr. Wellington, my employer. He wanted to see you play." Jalen's posture changed. More guarded. More careful. "Why?" "Because I told him about you. About what we accomplished together." "You mean what you accomplished?" Jalen shook his head. "I just did what you told me. You're the one who never gave up. We did it together." Jalen turned to Marcus, sizing him up with eyes that had seen too much skepticism from men in expensive clothes. "Maya says you have a son with CP. That true?" "It's true. And she's been helping him." "She has." "Then you're lucky man. My sister is the best. She saved my life." Jalen's voice caught. "When I was little, I wanted to die. I'm not joking. I was 6 years old, and I told my mama I wished I had never been born. Because I couldn't run like other kids. Couldn't play. Couldn't do anything but sit and watch." Marcus thought of Ethan. Of the words Maya had shared. He wished he had never been born, because then he wouldn't be a burden to everyone. "Maya changed that," Jalen continued. "She made me believe I could be normal. No, better than normal. She made me believe I could be great." "And now you are." Jalen shrugged, but pride flickered in his eyes. "I'm getting there. Got 3 colleges looking at me for scholarships, full rides. If I keep playing like this, I might actually get out." "Get out of where?" "Of this." Jalen gestured at the neighborhood around them. "Of being invisible. Of being just another black kid from Compton that nobody expects anything from." A whistle blew. Halftime was ending. "I gotta get back," Jalen said. He extended his hand to Marcus. "Nice meeting you, Mr. Wellington. Take care of my sister. She deserves good things." Marcus shook his hand. "I'm starting to understand that." Jalen jogged back to the court. Maya watched him go, her eyes glistening. "He's going to make it," Marcus said. "I can see it. He's going to make it because he refused to quit, and because I refused to let him." The second half was even more dominant. Jalen finished with 34 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. His team won by 22. After the final buzzer, the small crowd rushed the court, celebrating like they had just witnessed history. Maybe they had. Marcus and Maya walked back toward his car. The morning clouds had burned off, and the sun was warming the cracked pavement. "Thank you for inviting me," Marcus said. "Thank you for coming. Most people in your position wouldn't have bothered." Most people in my position don't know what they're missing. Maya stopped walking. She turned to face him, her expression serious. Mr. Wellington, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Ask. Why are you really doing this, the clinic? Coming here today? All of it. What do you want? Marcus considered the question carefully. 2 days ago, he wouldn't have known how to answer. But something had shifted inside him. Something fundamental. I want to stop being the man I was, he said. I want to be the father Ethan deserves. And I want to fix some of the broken things in this world, starting with the ones I can actually reach. Maya studied him for a long moment. That's a good answer. Is it enough? It's a start. They reached the Mercedes. Marcus unlocked the doors, but didn't get in. Maya, I want you to come back to the house this afternoon. Not as my housekeeper, as Ethan's therapist. Officially. What do you mean, officially? I mean, I'm going to fire the expensive specialists who have been failing my son for 2 years. I'm going to hire you instead. Full salary, benefits, a title that reflects what you actually do. Maya's mouth opened, closed, opened again. You can't do that. I can do whatever I want. It's my money, my son, my choice. But what will people say, your friends, your colleagues? What will they think when they find out you hired your housekeeper to treat your child? I don't care what they think. You should. This world runs on reputation, on appearances. You can't just ignore that. Marcus stepped closer. Watch me. The drive back to Beverly Hills took 45 minutes. Marcus called Victoria on the way, telling her he was bringing Maya home and that they needed to have a family discussion. What kind of discussion? Victoria asked, her voice cautious. The kind that changes everything. At 1:30 p.m., Marcus, Victoria, Maya, and Ethan gathered in the living room. Ethan was confused but excited. He kept looking at Maya with hopeful eyes. Is Aunt Maya in trouble? He asked. No, sweetheart, Victoria said. Nobody's in trouble. Marcus sat forward. Ethan, I want to tell you something important. From now on, Aunt Maya is going to be your official therapist, not just someone who helps you sometimes, your real therapist. Ethan's face transformed. Really? She's going to do my exercises every day. Every day, and we're going to stop the sessions with Dr. Patterson. No more Dr. Patterson. No more. Ethan launched himself off the couch and threw his arms around Maya. This is the best day ever. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you. Maya held the boy close, her eyes meeting Marcus's over his head. There were tears on her cheeks. Thank you, she mouthed. Marcus nodded. Victoria reached for her husband's hand and squeezed it. I'm proud of you, she whispered. For a moment, everything felt right. The family was together. Hope filled the room like sunlight. Ethan was laughing. Maya was crying, and Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Then the front door opened. Hello. Anyone home? The voice was sharp, cultured, immediately recognizable. Marcus's stomach dropped. Eleanor Ashworth. Victoria's mother swept into the living room like she owned it. She was wearing a designer suit and carrying a Louis Vuitton bag. Her eyes scanned the scene and stopped on Maya still holding Ethan. What is going on here? Victoria stood quickly. Mother, we weren't expecting you. Obviously, I was in the neighborhood and thought I would surprise my grandson. Eleanor's gaze fixed on Maya. Why is the help hugging my grandchild? The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Mother, this is Maya. She's been helping with Ethan's therapy. We were just discussing making it official. Making what official? Eleanor stepped closer, her heels clicking on the hardwood. Victoria, please tell me you're not considering letting the maid perform medical procedures on Ethan. She's not just a maid. She has a degree in physical therapy. Eleanor laughed. It was not a kind sound. A degree from where? Some community college correspondence course, UCLA, Maya said quietly. Summa cum laude. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. I don't believe that for a second. Mother, please, Victoria said. You don't understand the situation. I understand perfectly. I understand that you've let some stranger manipulate her way into this family. I understand that she's been performing treatments without proper authorization. And I understand that this could expose you to enormous liability. Marcus stood up. Eleanor, I appreciate your concern, but this is our decision. Victoria and I have discussed it thoroughly. Have you discussed it with your lawyers? Have you discussed what happens when this woman makes a mistake and Ethan gets hurt? Have you discussed the lawsuit, the scandal? There won't be any scandal. There already is one. Eleanor pulled out her phone. I made some calls this morning. I had a feeling something was off the last time I visited. So I did some research on your little housekeeper here. Maya went pale. Mother, what did you do? I protected this family, which is more than you seem willing to do. Eleanor looked at Maya with undisguised contempt. Did you tell them about the complaint? What complaint? Marcus demanded. 3 years ago, your precious therapist was accused of practicing without a license. A family she was helping filed a complaint with the medical board. The investigation was dropped due to lack of evidence, but the record exists. I found it. That was a misunderstanding, Maya said, her voice shaking. The family didn't know I was still a student. When they found out, they panicked, but I never did anything wrong. The medical board thought differently. They issued a warning. You were told not to practice without proper supervision. Eleanor turned to Marcus. And now she's been treating your son in secret, without your knowledge, without medical oversight. This woman is a liability, and she needs to be removed from this house immediately. Ethan had been listening to everything. His small face was crumpled with confusion and fear. What's happening? He asked. Is Aunt Maya going away? Yes, Eleanor said firmly. Aunt Maya is going away. No! Ethan grabbed Maya's arm. No, you can't make her go. She's the only one who helps me. She's the only one who believes in me. Ethan, calm down, Eleanor said. You'll understand when you're older. I understand now. You're mean. You're trying to take away the person who loves me. Victoria, control your child. Victoria stepped forward, positioning herself between Eleanor and Ethan. Mother, you need to leave. Excuse me. I said you need to leave. This is our home, our family, our decision. Eleanor's face flushed with anger. I am trying to protect you. Do you have any idea what this looks like? A billionaire hiring a black woman from Compton to treat his disabled son. The tabloids would have a field day. Your reputation would be destroyed. I don't care about my reputation. Well, you should. Your father and I spent decades building the Ashworth name. I will not let you throw it away because you've developed some misguided attachment to the help. Marcus moved to stand beside his wife. Eleanor, I'm going to say this once. Maya stays. She stays because she has helped Ethan more in 6 months than every specialist we've hired in 2 years. She stays because she has a legitimate degree and legitimate skills. And she stays because my son loves her. Your son doesn't know what's good for him. And you do. You who visits twice a year and can barely remember his name. Eleanor recoiled, as if she had been slapped. How dare you? How dare I? How dare you come into my house and threaten someone who has shown my family more kindness than you ever have? Marcus, Victoria said quietly. Let me handle this. She stepped toward her mother. Mom, I love you. But you need to understand something. Ethan was dying. Not physically. His spirit was dying. He told Maya he wished he had never been born. Do you understand what that means? A 5-year-old child wanted to die because he felt like a burden. Eleanor's expression flickered. Something human broke through the mask of propriety. Maya changed that, Victoria continued. She gave him hope. She gave him laughter. She gave him the belief that he could be normal, that he could be more than normal. And I will not let you take that away from him because you're worried about what people might think. Victoria, I'm only trying to help. Then help by leaving. Help by trusting us. Help by seeing Maya as a person instead of a threat." The room was silent. Ethan was clinging to Maya, his face buried in her side. Maya had her arm around him, but her eyes were on Eleanor. "Mrs. Ashworth," Maya said, "I understand why you're worried. If I were in your position, I might feel the same way. But I promise you I would never do anything to hurt Ethan. He's like my own family now." Eleanor stared at her for a long moment. Something complicated moved behind her eyes. "This isn't over," she finally said. "I'm going to consult with the family attorneys. If there's any legal exposure here, I will find it." "Do what you need to do," Marcus said, "but Maya stays." Eleanor gathered her bag and walked toward the door. She paused at the threshold. "You're making a mistake. All of you." Then she was gone. The moment the door closed, Ethan burst into tears. Is she going to take Aunt Maya away? Is she going to make her leave? Maya knelt down and took his face in her hands. "Listen to me, Ethan. Nobody is going to take me away from you. Your daddy and mommy won't let that happen. And neither will I." "You promise?" "I promise." But Marcus saw something in Maya's eyes. Fear. Uncertainty. The knowledge that promises weren't always enough. That evening after Ethan was asleep, Marcus found Maya in the kitchen. She was sitting at the counter, staring at nothing. "You should go home," he said. "Get some rest. It's been a long day." I can't stop thinking about what she said, about the complaint. That was years ago. It was dismissed. But the record exists. If she digs deep enough, if she talks to the right people, she could destroy my career before it even starts. Marcus sat down across from her. "I won't let that happen. You can't control everything, Mr. Wellington. You're powerful, but you're not invincible. And I'm just a black woman from Compton with a dream and a whole lot of enemies. You're not just anything. You're the person who gave my son hope. You're the person who runs a volunteer clinic for children who have no one else. You're the person who turned her brother into an athlete when doctors said it was impossible." Maya shook her head. "None of that matters to people like Eleanor. To them, I'll always be the help, the outsider, the threat. Then we'll change their minds." "How?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. An idea was forming. Something big. Something that could alter the trajectory of multiple lives. "The clinic," he said. "The one I promised to fund. What if we made it bigger? What if we made it legitimate? A real medical facility with proper licensing and oversight. Your name on the door. Your methods documented and validated. That would take more than $300,000. Then I'll give more, however much it takes." Maya stared at him. "Why would you do that?" "Because it's the right thing to do. Because my son loves you. And because maybe, just maybe, I want to be the kind of man who uses his money to build things instead of just buying them." "Mr. Wellington." "Marcus. Call me Marcus." "Marcus." Maya tested the name. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it. Say you'll let me help you create something that Eleanor Ashworth can never tear down." Maya was silent for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "My mother always said the world would never change. She said people like us were destined to serve people like you, and that dreaming of anything else was just setting yourself up for heartbreak." "What do you think?" "I think she was wrong. I think the world changes one person at a time, and I think maybe you're changing right in front of me." Marcus felt something warm spread through his chest. "Is that a yes?" Maya smiled. It was the first genuine smile he had ever seen from her. "That's a maybe, which is more than I've given anyone in a very long time." She gathered her things and walked toward the door. At the threshold, she turned back. "Marcus, thank you. Not for the money. For seeing me." Then she was gone. Marcus sat alone in the kitchen for a long time, thinking about everything that had happened. About Ethan's laughter, about Jalen's basketball game, about Eleanor's threats, and Maya's tears. He thought about the man he had been, and the man he wanted to become, and he thought about the promise he had made to his son. Ethan believed Maya would help him walk. Maya believed she could change the world. And somewhere in the middle of all that belief, Marcus had started believing too. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Eleanor wasn't finished. The world was still full of people who would look at Maya and see only her skin color, only her address, only her background. But tonight, Marcus allowed himself something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Sunday morning, 8:47 a.m. Marcus was drinking coffee when Ethan came into the kitchen. Not with his crutches, not holding onto furniture, walking. On his own two legs. Each step was careful, deliberate. His arms were out for balance. His face was scrunched with concentration. But he was walking. "Daddy!" Ethan said, his voice trembling with effort and excitement. "Daddy, look at me. I'm doing it. I'm really doing it." Marcus dropped his coffee cup. It shattered on the floor, but he didn't notice. He fell to his knees as Ethan made his way across the kitchen. 10 steps, 15, 20. And then his son was in his arms. "I did it, Daddy. Aunt Maya said I could, and I did. I really did." Marcus held his son so tight, he was afraid he might break him. Tears streamed down his face. His whole body was shaking. "I'm so proud of you," he whispered. "I'm so proud of you, Ethan. You're my hero. You're my brave, strong, incredible hero." Victoria appeared in the doorway. She saw her son standing in her husband's arms. She saw the shattered coffee cup. She saw the tears. And she understood. "Oh my God," she breathed. "Oh my God, Marcus. He did it." She ran to them, wrapping her arms around both of them. The three of them stood there, crying and laughing and holding each other. A family. Finally, a family. Ethan pulled back, his eyes shining. "Can we call Aunt Maya? I want to tell her. I want to show her." "We'll do better than that," Marcus said. "We'll bring her here, and then we're going to celebrate." But as Marcus reached for his phone, it buzzed with an incoming message. From Eleanor Ashworth. He read the message, and his blood turned to ice. "I spoke with the medical board this morning. They're opening an investigation into Maya Johnson. She's done." Marcus stared at the phone in his hand. The words blurred and sharpened as his mind raced to process what Eleanor had done. "Marcus, what is it?" Victoria's voice seemed to come from far away. Ethan was still beaming, still glowing with the triumph of his first independent steps. He didn't understand why his father's face had suddenly turned to stone. "Daddy, are you okay?" Marcus forced himself to smile. "I'm fine, buddy. Just a work thing. Hey, why don't you and Mommy go get dressed? We're going to have a big celebration today. Can Aunt Maya come?" "Absolutely. Aunt Maya is definitely coming." Victoria read her husband's expression. She knew something was wrong, but she also knew better than to press in front of Ethan. "Come on, sweetheart. Let's pick out your favorite outfit." She took Ethan's hand and guided him toward the stairs. At the doorway, she glanced back at Marcus, her eyes full of questions. He shook his head slightly. Later. The moment they were gone, Marcus called his attorney. "Jonathan, I need you at my house. Now." "Marcus, it's Sunday morning. I'm at church with my family. This can't wait. Eleanor Ashworth just triggered a medical board investigation against someone I'm trying to protect. I need to know what we're dealing with." A pause on the line. "How bad?" "Bad enough that she thinks she's won." "I'll be there in an hour." Marcus hung up and immediately dialed Maya's number. It rang 5 times before she answered. "Marcus, is everything okay?" "No. I need you to come to the house. Right now." "What happened?" "Eleanor. She's gone to the medical board. They're opening an investigation." Silence. Marcus could hear Maya's breathing shallow and fast. "I'm on my way." At 10:23 a.m., Maya arrived at the Wellington mansion. Her eyes were red, her hands trembling. She had clearly been crying during the drive. "Tell me everything," Marcus said, leading her into his study. "The complaint from 3 years ago. I need to know the whole story." Maya sank into a chair. "It was during my final semester at UCLA. I was doing volunteer work at a community center similar to what I do now. One of the families I was helping had a son with developmental delays. I worked with him for 6 months. He made incredible progress. So what went wrong? The father, he found out I wasn't a licensed therapist yet. He panicked. He thought I had been deceiving them, pretending to be something I wasn't. He filed a complaint with the medical board." "But you were a student. You weren't claiming to be licensed." "I know. But I also wasn't operating under proper supervision. The center didn't have a licensed therapist on staff. I was just helping, the way I always help." "What happened with the investigation?" "It was dismissed. The family eventually withdrew their complaint when they realized how much progress their son had made. But the board issued a warning. They told me that once I got my license, I needed to be careful about how I practiced. And then," Maya laughed bitterly, "and then I spent 2 years trying to get a job in my field. 2 years of rejections. 2 years of watching my classmates build careers while I cleaned houses. Eventually, I stopped trying. I figured the system didn't want me, so why keep fighting?" Marcus leaned forward. "But you kept helping people anyway. The community center, the children. You never stopped." "I couldn't stop. These kids have no one else. Their families can't afford therapy. The waiting lists for public programs are months long. Was I supposed to just let them suffer because some bureaucrat decided I wasn't qualified? The board might see it differently." "The board sees what they want to see. A black woman from Compton who doesn't know her place, who dared to help people without asking permission from the right authorities." The doorbell rang. Jonathan Chen, Marcus's attorney, had arrived. At 10:47 a.m., the three of them sat in Marcus's study while Jonathan reviewed the situation. "This is serious," he said, flipping through notes on his tablet. "If the board finds that Maya has been practicing without a license, she could face criminal charges, fines, possibly even jail time." Maya's face went pale. "But she has a license," Marcus protested. "She graduated from UCLA. Having a degree isn't the same as having an active license. Maya, when did you last renew your credentials?" Maya hesitated. "I haven't. I let them lapse after I couldn't find work. What was the point of paying renewal fees for a career I didn't have?" Jonathan sighed. "So technically you've been practicing with an expired license. That's going to be a problem." "She wasn't charging anyone," Marcus said. "The work at the community center is volunteer. And with Ethan, she was employed as a housekeeper. The therapy was informal." "The board won't see it that way. They'll see a pattern of unauthorized practice. And with Eleanor Ashworth pushing them, they're going to dig deep." "What can we do?" Jonathan was quiet for a moment. "You have 2 options. Option 1, Maya stops all therapy work immediately. She cooperates with the investigation, shows remorse, and hopes they go easy on her. With a good lawyer, she might get off with a fine and a permanent note on her record. And Option 2. Option 2, we fight. We document every case Maya has worked on. We gather testimonials from families. We prove that her methods are effective and that she was filling a gap that the system created. We make this about the failure of healthcare access, not about one woman breaking rules." "Option 2 could backfire," Maya said quietly. "It could make things worse." "It could. But it could also change things, not just for you. For every therapist who's been pushed out of the system. For every child who can't afford proper care." Marcus looked at Maya. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know. I've been fighting my whole life. I'm tired." "That's not what I asked." I asked what you want. Maya was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was stronger. I want to fight. I want to show them that what I do matters, that these children matter, that the system that rejected me was wrong. Marcus turned to Jonathan. Then we fight, whatever it costs. It's going to cost a lot. Legal fees, expert witnesses, media strategy. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't care. Marcus, Maya interrupted. I can't let you do this. It's too much. It's not your decision. Of course it's my decision. It's my life, my career, my reputation. And Ethan's future. And the future of every child at that community center. This isn't just about you anymore, Maya. It's about proving that people like you deserve a chance. The words hung in the air between them. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Why are you doing this? Why do you care so much? Marcus thought about his son. About the 15 seconds of standing that had become 20 steps across the kitchen. About the laughter and hope that Maya had brought into their home. Because you gave my son his life back, and because I spent too many years being the kind of man who only cared about himself. I'm done being that man. At 12:15 p.m., Victoria joined them in the study. Ethan was playing in his room, supervised by one of the household staff. I heard everything, she said. I was listening at the door. Victoria, I'm sorry, Maya began. Don't apologize. My mother did this, not you. Victoria turned to her husband. What's the plan? Marcus outlined what Jonathan had proposed. Victoria listened without interrupting. There's something else we need to consider, she said when he finished. My mother isn't going to stop at the medical board. She's going to try to turn this into a public scandal. She has connections at several media outlets. If she decides to go to the press, then we get ahead of it, Marcus said. We tell the story first, on our terms. What story? Maya's story, the truth. A woman who overcame poverty and discrimination to earn a degree from one of the best universities in the country. A woman who was denied opportunities because of her race. A woman who dedicated her life to helping children that the system had abandoned. That's risky, Jonathan said. Going public could make the board dig in harder. Or it could put pressure on them to do the right thing. Public opinion matters. If people rally behind Maya, the board might think twice about destroying her. Maya shook her head. I don't want to be a symbol. I just want to help kids. Sometimes we don't get to choose, Victoria said gently. Sometimes circumstances choose for us. The question is whether you're going to let my mother define your story or whether you're going to define it yourself. The room fell silent. Maya stared at her hands, her mind clearly racing. Can I have some time to think? Of course, Marcus said. Take as long as you need. Maya stood and walked to the window. She stood there for several minutes looking out at the manicured grounds of the Wellington estate. My mother used to say that black women in America carry an invisible weight, she finally said. We have to be twice as good to be considered half as worthy. We have to smile when we're angry. We have to stay calm when we're treated unfairly. We have to prove ourselves over and over again, and even then it's never enough. She turned to face them. I'm tired of carrying that weight. I'm tired of being invisible. If telling my story can help other people like me, then maybe it's worth the risk. So we go public. Maya nodded slowly. We go public. At 2:30 p.m., Marcus made a call to Rebecca Torres, the head of public relations for Wellington Tech. Marcus, this is unexpected. Is everything okay? No, I need your help with something personal, something important. He explained the situation. Rebecca listened without interruption. This is big, she said when he finished. This could blow up in a lot of different ways. I know. You're willing to put your reputation on the line for your housekeeper? Marcus felt a flash of anger. She's not just my housekeeper, she's a healer, a professional, a woman who was denied her rightful place in the world because of prejudice and bureaucracy. A pause. I'm sorry, that came out wrong. Tell me what you need. I need you to help us tell her story, the right way, before Eleanor Ashworth tells it her way. When? As soon as possible. Tomorrow, if we can manage it. That's fast. I'll need interviews, documentation, testimonials. Can Maya handle media attention? Marcus looked at Maya, who was listening to his side of the conversation. She can handle anything. She's been handling impossible situations her whole life. Rebecca arrived at the mansion at 4:00 p.m. She spent 3 hours with Maya recording her story, asking questions, taking notes. By 7:30 p.m. they had the outline of a media strategy. We'll start with a feature piece, Rebecca said. Something sympathetic but factual. We'll reach out to journalists who cover healthcare disparities, social justice issues. We'll frame this as a systemic failure, not just one woman's struggle. What about the medical board investigation? We acknowledge it. We don't hide from it, but we contextualize it. We show that Maya was filling a gap that shouldn't have existed in the first place. And Eleanor, Rebecca hesitated. That's trickier. She's Victoria's mother. We can't attack her directly without causing family problems. She attacked first, Marcus said coldly. I know, but publicly going after an elderly socialite won't win us sympathy points. We need to focus on Maya's story, not on revenge. Victoria, who had been quiet throughout the discussion, spoke up. What if I talked to her mother, I mean? What if I tried to get her to back down? Do you think she would? I don't know, but she's still my mother. Maybe if she understood what's really at stake. Marcus shook his head. She knows what's at stake. She just doesn't care. Let me try. Please. Before we go nuclear, let me try. At 8:45 p.m., Victoria called her mother. Mother, we need to talk. If you're calling to beg me to drop this, save your breath. I'm not begging. I'm asking you to think about what you're doing. I'm protecting this family, something you and your husband seem incapable of doing. You're not protecting anyone. You're destroying a good woman because she doesn't fit your idea of who should be allowed to succeed. Don't lecture me about morality, Victoria. I've seen more of the world than you ever will. I know how things work. Then tell me how things work, Mother. Tell me why a woman with a legitimate degree should be denied a career because of her skin color. Tell me why children in poor neighborhoods should suffer because they can't afford the same care that wealthy children receive. Eleanor's voice turned ice cold. Those are not our problems. We take care of our own. That's how the world works. Ethan walked today, Mother. On his own. 20 steps across the kitchen. Maya made that happen. Your grandson can walk because of the woman you're trying to destroy. A long pause. When Eleanor spoke again, there was something different in her voice. Something almost human. He walked 20 steps. Unassisted. He was so proud. He wanted to call Maya immediately to tell her. Silence on the line. Mother, I'm asking you, please, let this go. Call off the investigation. Let Maya continue helping Ethan and all the other children who need her. I need to think about this. What's there to think about? Your grandson is walking. Isn't that enough? It's complicated, Victoria. There are principles involved. Rules exist for a reason. Rules that keep qualified people from doing good work. Rules that punish the poor for being poor. Those are principles worth defending. You don't understand the world I grew up in, the world I had to navigate. Rules were the only protection we had. The world has changed, Mother. Maybe it's time for you to change with it. Another long pause. I'll consider it. That's all I can promise. Victoria hung up the phone. Her hands were shaking. Well, Marcus asked. She's going to think about it. That's more than I expected. Do you think she'll actually back down? I don't know, but I planted a seed. Ethan walking meant something to her. I could hear it in her voice. At 10:17 p.m., Maya prepared to leave. Ethan had already been put to bed, but he had insisted on seeing her first. "Aunt Maya, I walked today. Did Daddy tell you?" "He told me, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you." "You said I could do it and I did. You were right." "I'm always right about you, Ethan. Because you're special. Don't ever let anyone tell you different." "I won't. I promise." Maya kissed his forehead and walked out of the room. In the hallway, she found Marcus waiting. "Thank you," she said, "for everything, for believing me, for fighting for me. Thank you for giving me a reason to fight. Whatever happens with the investigation, I want you to know that these past few days have been the best of my life. For the first time, I feel like I'm not alone." "You're not alone, not anymore." Maya smiled, but there was sadness in it. "I should go. It's late." "Maya, wait." Marcus hesitated. "I've been thinking. The clinic we talked about. What if we accelerated the timeline? What if we started building it now before the investigation concludes? Why? Because it sends a message. It shows the world that we believe in you, that we're not waiting for permission to do the right thing. That could backfire. If the board rules against me, you'll have invested millions in a clinic that can't operate. Then I'll find another qualified therapist to run it in your name. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to win this." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "How can you be so sure?" "Because I've seen what you can do, and I refuse to believe that a world that produces someone like you would be stupid enough to throw her away." The next morning, Monday, 7:15 a.m. Everything changed. Marcus's phone rang while he was having breakfast with Victoria and Ethan. He glanced at the caller ID. Eleanor Ashworth. "Mrs. Ashworth." "Marcus, I've made a decision." He braced himself for the worst. "I'm withdrawing my complaint. I'm calling the medical board this morning to tell them I was mistaken, that I acted on incomplete information." Marcus nearly dropped his phone. "What?" "Don't make me repeat myself. I don't do humble well." "Why? What changed?" A long pause. When Eleanor spoke again, her voice was smaller somehow, more human. "I watched a video this morning. A video that Victoria sent me. Of Ethan walking. I watched it 17 times. And I remembered something. When Victoria was born, she had complications. The doctors said she might have developmental delays. I was terrified. I would have done anything, hired anyone, broken any rule to help her." "What happened?" "She was fine. The complications resolved on their own. But for 3 months I lived in fear. And I remember thinking that if anyone at all could help my daughter, I wouldn't care about their credentials, or their background, or the color of their skin." Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Watching Ethan walk reminded me of that feeling. And I realized that I had become the kind of person I would have hated back then. The kind of person who puts rules above children. "Eleanor, I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything. Just take care of that woman. She's done something remarkable, and I was too blind to see it." "Thank you." "Don't thank me. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for my grandson. And maybe, just maybe, for the person I used to be before I forgot what really matters." She hung up. Marcus sat in stunned silence. Victoria was staring at him, her face pale with anticipation. "What happened? What did she say?" "She's withdrawing the complaint. She's calling off the investigation." Victoria's hand flew to her mouth. "Oh my God! Oh my God, Marcus!" She said, watching Ethan walk changed her mind. Tears streamed down Victoria's face. "I can't believe it. I can't believe she actually—" "Call Maya. Tell her." Victoria grabbed her phone with shaking hands. At 8:03 a.m., Maya answered the call. Her voice was hoarse, as if she had been crying all night. "Victoria, is something wrong?" "Something's right. Something is finally beautifully right." "What do you mean?" "My mother called Marcus. She's withdrawing the complaint. The investigation is over." Silence. Maya, are you there? A choked sob came through the phone. I'm here. I can't. You won, Maya. You won. We won. All of us. At 9:30 a.m., Maya arrived at the Wellington mansion. Ethan ran to meet her, walking without assistance, his face glowing with pride. Aunt Maya. Aunt Maya. Mommy says the bad lady isn't going to bother you anymore. Maya swept him into her arms, holding him tight. That's right, sweetheart. Everything is going to be okay. Does that mean you can stay forever? It means I can stay as long as you need me. I'm always going to need you, Aunt Maya. Always and forever. Marcus watched the scene from the doorway. Victoria stood beside him, her head on his shoulder. We did it, she whispered. No, Maya did it. She did it by refusing to give up, by helping children even when the world told her she couldn't. All we did was finally open our eyes. So what happens now? Marcus looked at Maya holding his son. He thought about the clinic they were going to build, the children they were going to help, the wrongs they were going to right. Now we start building something that matters, something that will last long after we're gone. That afternoon, Marcus called a meeting with his architects and contractors. He presented plans for a new rehabilitation center in South Los Angeles, the Maya Johnson Institute for Pediatric Rehabilitation. I want construction to start within 30 days, he said. I want this facility to be world-class. I want it to serve any child who needs help, regardless of their family's ability to pay. That's ambitious, the lead architect said. A project this size usually takes 18 months just for planning. Then we'll do it in 9. I'll hire double the staff, triple if necessary. Money is not an obstacle. The architect exchanged glances with his colleagues. Mr. Wellington, if I may ask, why is this so urgent? Marcus thought about Ethan's first steps, about Maya's tears, about Eleanor's unexpected change of heart. Because there are children out there right now who need help. Children who can't wait 18 months. Children who have been waiting their whole lives for someone to believe in them. He stood up, his voice filled with a conviction he had never felt before in his business career. We're not just building a clinic, we're building hope, and hope doesn't have time for bureaucracy. At 6:47 p.m., Marcus found Maya in Ethan's room finishing the day's therapy session. Ethan was practicing his balance standing on one foot, while Maya counted. 8, 9, 10. Perfect. That's even better than yesterday. I'm getting stronger, Aunt Maya. I can feel it. You are getting stronger, every single day. Marcus knocked on the open door. Hope I'm not interrupting. Daddy, watch what I can do. Ethan demonstrated his 1-foot balance, wobbling slightly, but staying upright for a full count of 10. That's incredible, buddy. You're like a superhero. Aunt Maya says I'm a warrior. You're both. A superhero warrior. Ethan giggled and ran to hug his father. Marcus held him close, savoring the feeling of his son's arms around his neck. Can we have ice cream to celebrate? I think that can be arranged. Can Aunt Maya come too? Marcus looked at Maya. I think Aunt Maya deserves all the ice cream in the world. Later that evening, after Ethan was asleep, Marcus and Maya sat on the back patio. The lights of Los Angeles glittered in the distance. I still can't believe Eleanor changed her mind, Maya said. People like that don't usually change. People are full of surprises, even people like Eleanor. What do you think made the difference? I think she saw Ethan walking and remembered what really matters. Sometimes it takes watching a child overcome the impossible to remind us what's actually important in life. Maya nodded slowly. I've seen it happen before, with the families I work with. Sometimes the hardest hearts are softened by the simplest miracles. Is that what you call it? A miracle? What would you call it? Marcus thought about everything that had happened. The discovery of Maya's secret therapy sessions, the confrontation, the investigation, the unexpected resolution. I'd call it justice. Long overdue justice for a woman who deserved it from the start. Maya smiled. That's a nice thought. But I think it's more than that. I think it's a reminder that good can still win, that kindness can still triumph over cruelty, that the world as broken as it is can still be healed. One child at a time. One child at a time. One family at a time. One heart at a time. Marcus raised his glass. To healing. Maya clinked her glass against his. To healing. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city lights, thinking about the future they were building together. At 11:23 p.m., Marcus received one final message of the day. It was from Jalen, Maya's brother. Mr. Wellington, Maya told me what you did, what you're doing. I don't have words big enough to thank you, but I want you to know something. My sister saved my life, and now you're giving her a chance to save thousands more. That makes you a hero in my book. Whatever you need, whenever you need it, I'm here. Family looks out for family, and you're family now. Marcus read the message 3 times. Then he typed a simple response. Thank you, Jalen. That means more than you know. He set down his phone and looked up at the stars. For the first time in years, Marcus Wellington felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be, doing exactly what he was supposed to do. The clinic would be built. The children would be helped. Maya would get the career she deserved, and Ethan would walk, run, dance, everything Maya had promised, because some promises are meant to be kept, and some people are meant to keep them. 1 year later, everything had changed. The Maya Johnson Institute for Pediatric Rehabilitation stood proudly on the corner of Crenshaw and Martin Luther King Boulevard. The building that had once been an abandoned warehouse was now a 3-story facility with floor-to-ceiling windows that let sunlight pour into every treatment room. Marcus had kept his promise. 9 months of construction, world-class equipment, a staff of 23 professionals working under Maya's supervision, and every single service was free for families who couldn't afford to pay. On the morning of the grand opening, March 15th, 8:47 a.m., Maya stood in the lobby staring at the bronze letters mounted on the wall. The Maya Johnson Institute. Her name. Her legacy. Her mother's dream finally realized. It's real, Jalen said, coming to stand beside her. It's actually real. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up. You're not dreaming, sis. You did this. You made this happen. I didn't do it alone. No. But you started it. Every child in this building, every family that walks through those doors, they're here because you refused to give up. Maya wiped her eyes. Mom would have loved this. Mom is probably up there right now, telling everyone who'll listen that her daughter built a miracle in the middle of Compton. They both laughed through their tears. At 9:15 a.m., the crowd began to gather. Families from the old community center, many of whom had been following Maya for years. Local politicians hoping to attach themselves to a feel-good story. Journalists from news outlets across the country. And in the front row, Marcus, Victoria, and Ethan Wellington. Ethan was walking now, not just walking. Running, jumping, playing soccer with kids twice his size. The transformation had been gradual, but undeniable. Every month brought new milestones. Every milestone proved that Maya's methods worked. Are you nervous? Victoria asked Marcus as they took their seats. Terrified. This is bigger than any business deal I've ever done. Why? Because this matters, really matters. If I mess up a corporate merger, people lose money. If I mess this up, children lose hope. Victoria squeezed his hand. You're not going to mess it up. Look around. This is already a success. Marcus looked at the crowd. Hundreds of people, most of them from communities that had never been invited to anything this beautiful. Children in wheelchairs. Children with leg braces. Children with the same careful movements he remembered from Ethan's early struggles. And every single one of them was looking at Maya like she was salvation itself. At 10:00 a.m., the ceremony began. Marcus approached the podium first. The crowd fell silent. 2 years ago, I was a different man. I was the kind of man who thought money could solve any problem, who believed that success in business made me successful at life, who hid from his own son because he couldn't face the reality that some things can't be bought. He paused, gathering himself. Then I met Maya Johnson, and everything I thought I knew was proven wrong. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Maya came to my house as a housekeeper. She cleaned my floors, she washed my dishes, and in secret she did something that changed my family forever. She helped my son believe that he wasn't broken. Marcus's voice cracked. When I discovered what she was doing, I was angry. I felt betrayed. How dare this woman, this stranger, take it upon herself to treat my child without permission? Who did she think she was? He shook his head. But I had it backwards. The question wasn't who she thought she was. The question was who I thought I was. I was the father who had given up, the father who hired experts instead of being present, the father who measured love in dollars instead of time. Maya taught me something that all the business books in the world never could. She taught me that the most valuable things in life can't be purchased. Belief, presence, hope. These are gifts that must be given freely from one heart to another. Marcus turned to look at Maya, who was standing at the side of the stage. Maya, I owe you an apology that goes beyond words. I owe you a debt that can never be repaid, but I can try. This institute is my attempt to give you the platform you always deserved, the career that was stolen from you by a system that couldn't see past the color of your skin or the zip code of your address. The crowd burst into applause. Today, we're not just opening a building, we're opening a door. A door for every child who has been told they can't. A door for every family who has been told they don't deserve. A door for every healer who has been told they don't belong. Marcus stepped back from the podium. Please welcome the founder and director of this institute, the woman who saved my son, the woman who changed my life, Maya Johnson. At 10:23 a.m., Maya took the stage. She stood in silence for a moment, looking out at the faces before her. Faces of every color. Faces marked by struggle and hope and determination. Faces that reflected her own journey. When I was 14 years old, my baby brother Jalen was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. The doctors told my mother he would never walk. They said to prepare for a lifetime of limitations. Maya's voice was steady, but her eyes glistened. My mother worked 2 jobs. We couldn't afford therapy. We couldn't afford specialists. All we had was each other and a refusal to accept what the world told us was inevitable. She pointed to Jalen in the front row. That young man right there. He's starting at USC next fall on a basketball scholarship, full ride. The same doctors who said he would never walk watched him score 34 points in his high school championship game. The crowd erupted. I didn't cure Jalen. I didn't perform miracles. I simply refused to see him as broken. I refused to accept that his limitations defined his potential. And I worked with him every single day until his body caught up with his spirit. Maya gripped the podium. But here's what they don't tell you about success. It doesn't erase the wounds. It doesn't undo the rejection letters. It doesn't give back the years I spent cleaning houses while my degree collected dust because nobody would give a black woman from Compton a chance. The room was silent. I applied to 247 jobs after graduation. I got 3 interviews. 3. And every single one ended the same way. Polite smiles, empty promises, and silence. For 2 years, I watched my white classmates build careers while I scrubbed toilets. For 2 years, I questioned everything I had worked for. Was the degree worth it? Was the sacrifice worth it? Was I worth it? Her voice broke. And then I met Ethan Wellington, a little boy who reminded me of everything I had been fighting for. A little boy who needed someone to believe in him. Maya looked directly at Ethan, who was sitting in his father's lap. Ethan, can you come up here? The crowd held its breath as the 7-year-old boy stood up. He walked unassisted from his seat to the stage, not shuffling, not stumbling, walking with the confident stride of a child who had conquered the impossible. Maya knelt down to his level. "Tell everyone what you told me this morning." Ethan looked at the crowd. He wasn't nervous. He was proud. "My name is Ethan Wellington. I used to need crutches to walk. I used to think I was broken. But Aunt Maya showed me that I'm not broken. I'm just different. And different is special." The crowd exploded into applause tears streaming down countless faces. Maya stood up, lifting Ethan in her arms. "This is why we're here. This is what this institute represents. Not just therapy, not just exercises, but the fundamental belief that every child deserves someone who sees their potential instead of their limitations." She set Ethan down and he walked back to his parents. "To every family here today, I make you a promise. The same promise I made to my brother 20 years ago. The same promise I made to Ethan 2 years ago. I will never stop believing in your children. I will never stop fighting for their futures. And I will never let anyone tell them that they can't." At 11:15 a.m., the ribbon was cut. Maya, Marcus, Victoria, Ethan, and Jalen stood together holding the oversized scissors. The crowd counted down from 10. The ribbon fell. The doors opened, and the Maya Johnson Institute officially began its mission. What followed was controlled chaos. Families streamed into the building, marveling at the equipment, meeting the staff, signing up for consultations. Children who had traveled from across the state were already being assessed. Parents who had given up hope were crying in the hallways. At 12:47 p.m., Maya found a quiet moment in her new office. She sat behind the desk, staring at her name on the door, still unable to fully process everything that had happened. A knock interrupted her thoughts. "Come in." Eleanor Ashworth stood in the doorway. Maya stiffened. Despite Eleanor's withdrawal of the complaint, the two women hadn't spoken directly since that confrontation at the Wellington mansion. "May I come in?" "Of course." Eleanor entered slowly, her usual imperious demeanor softened by something Maya couldn't identify. She sat in the chair across from Maya's desk. "I won't take much of your time. I know you're busy." "It's fine. What can I do for you, Mrs. Ashworth?" Eleanor was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was quieter than Maya had ever heard it. "I came to apologize." Maya blinked. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. I came to apologize for what I did, for the investigation, for the assumptions I made about you." "Why now?" "After all this time." Eleanor looked around the office. At the diplomas on the wall, the photographs of smiling children, the awards and certifications. "Because I was wrong. I was so convinced that I knew what was right, that I couldn't see the truth standing in front of me." "What truth?" "That you're extraordinary. That you've done more good with your 2 hands than I've done with all my money and all my connections." Maya didn't know how to respond. "I grew up in a world where people like me and people like you stayed in our separate lanes." Eleanor continued. "I was taught that there were rules, hierarchies, ways things were supposed to be. And I spent 73 years believing those rules were there to protect us." "Protect who?" "People like me. The wealthy, the privileged, the ones who benefited from the system staying exactly as it was." Eleanor's eyes met Maya's. "But watching Ethan walk, watching my grandson become the confident, happy child he is today, I realized something. Those rules weren't protecting us. They were protecting our illusions. Our comfortable beliefs that we deserved what we had and others deserved what they didn't have." "That's a big realization." "It is. And it came too late. I can't undo the years you lost. I can't erase the rejection letters or the interviews that went nowhere. But I can do something now." Eleanor reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. "What is this?" "A donation. To the Institute. For the families who can't afford to pay." Maya opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $500,000. "Mrs. Ashworth, I can't accept this. You can and you will. Consider it a down payment on my debt to you. You don't owe me anything. I owe you everything. My grandson's health, my daughter's happiness, my own awakening. That's worth more than any check could cover. Maya stared at the check in her hands. Why didn't you just mail this? Why come in person? Eleanor stood up. Because I needed to look you in the eye. I needed you to know that I see you now. Not as the help, not as a threat, but as the remarkable woman you've always been. She walked to the door, then paused. Maya, I spent my whole life building walls, between myself and people I didn't understand, between my family and anyone I considered beneath us. But walls don't protect us, they just keep us lonely. And now I want to tear down some of those walls, starting with this one. Eleanor left without another word. Maya sat alone in her office holding a check for $500,000 from the woman who had tried to destroy her career. Life, she decided, was full of surprises. At 2:30 p.m., the first therapy session began. A 7-year-old girl named Destiny rolled into the treatment room in her wheelchair. She was one of Maya's original patients from the old community center, the same girl Marcus had watched through the window that night over a year ago. Are you ready, sweetheart? Destiny nodded, her eyes bright with determination. Remember what we've been working toward. Walking. On my own. Without the chair. That's right. And today we're going to try. Maya worked with Destiny for 45 minutes. Stretches, exercises, building up to the moment they had been preparing for. Okay, Destiny, I'm going to help you stand, and then I'm going to let go, just for a few seconds. What if I fall? Then I'll catch you. I'll always catch you. Destiny gripped Maya's hands. Together they rose from the therapy table. Maya steadied the girl, feeling her legs tremble with effort. You're doing amazing. Now I'm going to step back. Just one step. Keep your eyes on me. I'm scared. I know. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing the hard thing anyway. Maya stepped back. Destiny stood alone. 1 second. 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm standing. Teacher Maya, I'm standing. You're standing. Baby, look at you. Destiny's legs began to buckle. Maya rushed forward, catching her before she could fall. How long was that? 5 seconds. That's longer than you've ever done before. Destiny burst into tears. I did it. I really did it. You did it. And next time it's going to be 6 seconds, and then 7. And then you're going to walk out of this building on your own 2 feet. You promise. Maya held the girl close. I promise. At 4:00 p.m., Marcus found Maya in the observation room watching the therapy sessions through the glass. How's the first day going? Overwhelming. In the best possible way. I saw Destiny's session. That was incredible. She's worked so hard. They all have. Marcus stood beside her, watching a young therapist work with a toddler in the next room. Can I ask you something? Of course. Do you ever think about what would have happened if I hadn't come home early that day, if I hadn't seen you with Ethan? Maya was quiet for a moment. Sometimes. I think about all the parallel lives we might have lived. The ones where you fired me. The ones where Eleanor succeeded. The ones where none of this happened. Does it scare you? It used to, but now I think everything happened exactly as it was supposed to. Every rejection, every closed door, every moment of despair, it all led here. That's a very forgiving way to look at it. I'm not forgiving the system. I'm not forgiving the people who rejected me, but I'm not letting their choices define my story anymore. This is my ending, and it's a good one. Marcus smiled. It's not an ending. It's a beginning. At 6:00 p.m., the grand opening celebration began. The Institute's cafeteria had been transformed into a reception hall. Families mingled with donors. Children played while parents swapped stories. The air was thick with hope and possibility. Ethan found Maya near the refreshment table. Aunt Maya. Hey, sweetheart. Are you having fun? Yeah, I made 3 new friends already." "That's wonderful." Ethan tugged at her sleeve, his face suddenly serious. "Can I tell you something?" "You can tell me anything." "I'm going to be a helper when I grow up, like you." "A helper?" "Yeah. I'm going to help kids who feel broken. I'm going to tell them they're not broken, just like you told me." Maya knelt down and pulled Ethan into a fierce hug. "You're already a helper, Ethan. You've been helping me since the day we met." "I have, more than you know." At 7:30 p.m., Maya was asked to give a final speech before the celebration ended. She stood before the crowd, exhausted and exhilarated, searching for the words to capture what she was feeling. "When I was a little girl, my mother used to tell me stories about our ancestors. Slaves who were forbidden to read, but who taught themselves in secret. Women who were told they couldn't vote, couldn't own property, couldn't speak in public, but who changed the world anyway. She told me that our family had a tradition, a belief that was passed down through generations. She called it the stubborn hope." Maya smiled through her tears. "Stubborn hope is when you keep believing even when everyone tells you to stop. Stubborn hope is when you keep fighting even when the odds are impossible. Stubborn hope is when you look at a child in a wheelchair and see not what they can't do, but what they will do. This institute is built on stubborn hope. Every wall, every window, every piece of equipment represents someone who refused to give up." Maya looked at Marcus and Victoria, at Ethan and Jalen, at Eleanor, sitting quietly in the back of the room. "I want to thank the Wellington family for believing in me when I had stopped believing in myself. I want to thank my brother Jalen for being my first success story and my constant inspiration. I want to thank every family who trusted me with their children, even when I had nothing but my hands and my heart to offer. And I want to thank my mother, Gloria Johnson, who cleaned houses her whole life so her daughter could stand here today, who taught me that dignity has nothing to do with your job title and everything to do with how you treat other people." Maya's voice broke. "Mama, I hope you're watching. I hope you can see what your stubborn hope built. This is for you. This is all for you." The room was silent except for the sound of crying. "To everyone here tonight, I leave you with this. The world will try to tell you what you can't do. The world will try to put you in boxes and categories and limitations, but the world doesn't get to decide your story. You decide your story. You decide what you're capable of. You decide who you become. And if anyone ever tells you that your dreams are too big, your goals are too ambitious, your hopes are too stubborn, you tell them about this building. You tell them about Ethan Wellington, who was told he would never walk. You tell them about Jalen Johnson, who was told he would never play sports. You tell them about a housekeeper from Compton who was told she would never practice medicine. And then you tell them that we're still here, still standing, still fighting, still believing. Because that's what stubborn hope does. It survives." At 9:15 p.m., the celebration ended. The families went home. The staff cleaned up. The building grew quiet. Maya stood alone in the lobby, looking up at her name on the wall one final time. Footsteps approached. She didn't need to turn around to know who it was. "Long day," Marcus said. "The longest and the best." "What are you thinking about?" "I'm thinking about all the children who are going to walk through those doors. All the lives that are going to change. All the futures that are going to open up." Sounds overwhelming. It is. But it's the good kind of overwhelming. Marcus stood beside her, following her gaze to the bronze letters. "You know what I realized today?" "What?" "That night when I followed you to the community center, when I saw you working with those kids, I thought I was discovering your secret. But really, you were discovering mine." "What secret?" "That I was empty. That all my success meant nothing, because I wasn't using it for anything that mattered. You showed me what purpose looks like. You showed me what dedication looks like. You showed me what love looks like." Maya turned to face him. "You didn't need me to show you those things, Marcus. They were always inside you. You just forgot how to see them." "Maybe. but you helped me remember, and I'm grateful for that." They stood in comfortable silence. "What happens now?" Maya asked. "Now we help as many children as we can. We train the next generation of therapists. We prove that your methods work so other clinics can adopt them. We change the system that kept you out for so long." "That's a lot." "We have time, and we have each other." Maya smiled. "Partners. Partners." They shook hands as equals, as colleagues, as family. At 10:47 p.m., Maya finally drove home. The streets of Compton looked different tonight, not because anything had changed physically, but because everything had changed inside her. She pulled into her driveway and sat in the car for a moment, looking at the modest house where she had grown up, where her mother had worked herself to exhaustion, where she had nursed Jalen through years of therapy, where she had cried herself to sleep after every rejection letter. This house had seen her lowest moments, and tonight it welcomed her home as a hero. Maya walked inside. Jalen was waiting in the living room. "How was it?" "Perfect, terrifying, beautiful." "Mom would be so proud." "I know." Jalen hugged his sister. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For never giving up on me. For never giving up on any of us." "I couldn't give up. You wouldn't let me." They held each other for a long moment, two survivors of a system that had tried to break them. "What are you going to do now?" Jalen asked. "Sleep for about 12 hours. Then wake up and do it all again." "Forever." Maya smiled. "For as long as there are children who need someone to believe in them." 3 years later, the Maya Johnson Institute had become a national model for pediatric rehabilitation. Satellite clinics opened in 5 cities across the country. Maya's methods were being taught at medical schools. A documentary about her journey had won awards at Sundance. And Ethan Wellington, now 10 years old, was thriving. He played soccer on his school team. He ran track. He had friends and hobbies and dreams that stretched far beyond anything his parents had dared to imagine. On the anniversary of the Institute's opening, Ethan stood before the crowd to give a speech. His voice was strong and clear. "My name is Ethan Wellington. When I was 5 years old, doctors told my parents I might never walk normally. They said to prepare for limitations." He paused, letting the words sink in. "But then I met someone who refused to accept that. Someone who saw me not as a problem to be fixed, but as a person to be believed in." Ethan looked at Maya in the front row. "Aunt Maya taught me that I wasn't broken. She taught me that different doesn't mean less. She taught me that the only limitations that really exist are the ones we accept." He straightened his shoulders. "Today I can walk. I can run. I can do anything I set my mind to. Not because of expensive doctors or fancy equipment. Because one woman looked at a scared little boy and decided to believe in him when no one else would." The crowd was in tears. "I'm going to medical school someday. I'm going to become a doctor who helps kids like me. And whenever I meet a child who's been told they can't, I'm going to tell them about Aunt Maya. I'm going to tell them that miracles aren't magic. Miracles are what happen when someone refuses to give up." Ethan stepped away from the podium and walked perfectly balanced to where Maya sat. He wrapped his arms around her. "Thank you, Aunt Maya, for everything. Thank you, Ethan, for being my brave warrior." They held each other as the crowd rose to their feet, applause thundering through the building that stubborn hope had built. Marcus Wellington watched from the back of the room. He was crying openly, making no attempt to hide his tears. Victoria took his hand. "You did this?" she said. "No, Maya did this. I just finally got out of the way." "You did more than that. You opened your heart. You changed. That takes courage." Marcus thought about the man he had been. The cold, distant father who measured success in dollars. The businessman who couldn't face his own son. That man was gone now. In his place stood someone better. Someone who had learned that true wealth isn't measured in bank accounts, but in lives touched hearts, Opened futures changed. "I'm proud of you," Victoria whispered. "I'm proud of us." That night, after the celebration ended, Maya stood alone on the rooftop of the Institute. The lights of Los Angeles stretched before her, a galaxy of possibility. She thought about her mother, about Jalen, about every child who had ever been told they couldn't. And she thought about Ethan Wellington, the boy who had changed everything. She had come to the Wellington mansion as a housekeeper. She had cleaned floors and washed dishes and hidden her skills from people who would never have believed she possessed them. But she had also planted seeds. Seeds of hope in a little boy's heart. Seeds of change in a family that had forgotten how to dream. Those seeds had grown into something extraordinary. Maya smiled, tears streaming down her face. "We did it, Mama," she whispered to the stars. "We finally did it." Far below in the streets of the city that had once rejected her, the Maya Johnson Institute glowed like a beacon. A reminder that hope is stubborn, that love is stronger than prejudice, that one person armed with nothing but belief and determination can change the world. The billionaire had caught the black employee in the act, and what he discovered wasn't a crime. It was a miracle.